Ciao friends, my name is Liz and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking, where all my recipes are easy and simple and delicious. Today we have a wonderful recipe that, let me explain. If you are looking for some sort of appetizer or finger food that is very easy to make but also gourmet, or maybe you like the chicken nuggets but you want a healthier version, and you want to, instead of making, using meat, we can use a vegetable. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. We are going to be using mushrooms, and we are going to bread and cook them up so that they are nice and crispy and taste delicious. The good news is that it doesn't require a lot of ingredients, super simple to make. And for those who are on restrictive diets, you can use things like gluten-free and dairy-free stuff. I'm not going to do that because I'm not on those diets, but just to let you know, um, there are modifications that you can make. So let's go over. So the breading technique is very simple. You need flour, you need egg, and you need breadcrumbs. You can use store-bought Italian breadcrumbs, or you can use make your own, which I'm going to do. And I will show you how to easily do that. It doesn't require a lot of herbs. It only requires one herb, and that is dried parsley. But we're going to also add some cheese into that mix to make it nice and Italian. So the first thing we have is I'm using a container of baby mushrooms. You can use any type of mushroom, really. This is what they had. And you can use the brown kind, or you can use ones that are white. Doesn't matter. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to go ahead and clean these up. So just use a little paper towel, a damp paper towel, and do it in the sink and wipe it off, and then set them aside. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so when we are cleaning them, which I've already done, we're just really trying to get any loose bits of dirt off of these. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just going through and I'm patting them dry because I really don't want them to be really wet. There's enough moisture in the mushrooms, and I certainly don't need to add any more. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is you got these mushrooms, but what do you do with the stems? And what do you do with the hard part of the stem? Well, the good news is we can use it. The only thing I don't use is the end of the stem. I just take that off and toss that out. And what we're going to do is just simply slice the mushrooms this way so that you actually get the full size. If you don't do it that way, you could do it any other way as well. There are so many ways to do this, but I'm going to show you how I do mine. The end that's kind of like this, don't worry about it. We can still fry it and it'll still taste delicious. So don't worry about making them having to cut off the ends. You can do it that way as well, which might be nice also for party food. And the principle that I'm using for the Okay, so you can see here already the quantity that we're going to be making, and this is just from one 8-ounce package of Bella mushrooms. So you can see when each of these are breaded and you put them out in a serving bowl or a serving platter, it makes a nice quantity. So I can't really tell you how many servings this is because this is like an appetizer, and you figure maybe 4 or 5 that people might grab off of a tray. I'm not going to count this up, but you can probably have, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 here. So it just depends. Okay, so we have the mushrooms and that's done, and that's great. The next thing we're going to do is get the order of the breading done. So the first thing actually we're going to do is we're just going to add some flour, and I'll probably do about a half a cup of flour. So I'm just going to actually just take a spoonful. And if you're looking for exact measurements, please check the link below because I do have the exact, like a recipe with exact quantities on my website that you can go and print it out if you're looking for like really detailed instructions and step by step. And again, when I do these videos, and I say this frequently, I don't even think I need this much. a lot of times I don't even measure. It's just not needed. And I mean, really, I hope I encourage you through a lot of my videos that really so many of these recipes, you don't have to have exact measurements. So I just kind of give you approximations because honestly, I don't always measure every time that I do it, every time that I make these or a lot of my recipes. It's just, that used to drive me bonkers when people would be like, oh, just mix this and this and this. But I understand now because once you start learning what goes with what and how to do things, you learn to be able to modify and you learn what's really important. Is it really important to know the exact quantity because it's so flexible that you really don't have to have an exact quantity. So I'm just going to do 1 egg for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to. All right, so the egg, it goes second. The flour goes first. And then we're going to go ahead and make our breadcrumb mixture. Again, if you want super easy, just use store-bought Italian seasoning. That's totally fine. I just prefer to use my own. I'm not going to get into how to make it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, from scratch. But I do, I make my breadcrumbs from scratch, super easy. I grind my own cheese. You're probably not going to get cheese at the store brand, and that's really important for this recipe. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this here. And I'm going to say that might be enough. I'll do a little bit more. You can't go wrong with having a little bit more because you can whatever breadcrumbs are left, if you have too many, you just throw in the frying pan and crisp them up, and it tastes really good. All right, so we have that. I'm going to add in probably about 1/8 of a cup of, I have Romano cheese. If you're using Parmesan, I would probably go a little bit more than that, maybe 1/4 of a cup, just because Romano tends to have more flavor. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Again, I'm eyeballing, but you can certainly, adjust quantities. I mean, really, you can actually, for those who are dairy-free people, you can just omit the cheese. And then I'm going to add in some parsley. Again, I'm eyeballing it. That's probably about 1/8 of a cup. Might look like a lot, but believe me, it's not. And I'm using dried parsley. Few dashes of crushed ground black pepper. So, okay, here's the plan. What we do is we take the mushrooms. Okay, so I'll just start off with one just to show you the process here. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have it coated in the flour. And the reason why we do that is because in order to get the egg to adhere to the mushroom, you have to have that coating of flour. And I'm just going to show you here. Just a light dusting is all you need. Then what you do is you go ahead and put it in the egg so that it's nice and coated. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you're going to do is shake off any excess and put it in the breadcrumbs. And again, shake off any excess and then set it off to the side. Now you can go one by one, or you could do, a few at a time. So let's try a few at a time and see if that kind of helps. Just grab a handful. You can also use gloves if that's a little easier to keep your hands clean. And I like to just do this. And again, if you run out of something, if you find, oh, gee, I needed to use more egg, just go grab some more eggs. I always tend to go conservative and then add more because I can't stand wasting food. This is something you can get your kids involved in because they get to get their hands all dirty. It's kind of fun to play with food. And you can do this. It doesn't have to be in a bowl. It could be on a plate that you have the breadcrumbs. I'm just using a bowl. Honestly, I kind of do it differently each time. I just grab whatever I can. I will say these are really impressive. And, a lot of times mushrooms are made, are used instead of meat for a lot of vegetarians. And I just really like this recipe because it has that meatiness and yet it's not meat. And it tastes absolutely delicious. The first time I had these, I was really blown over with how good they were. All Okay, so we're wrapping up here, and just to let you know, for this batch, I did need 2 eggs. That the thinner, or the more little pieces that you have, the more surface area that there is for the egg and the breadcrumbs to cover. So you're going to require more, versus if you just, cut them in half or cut them in 4 pieces. So, and once you get to the end, you can just kind of dump them, because I have a lot of, I guess they kind of broke off. So I'm not throwing them out. I'm going to use them. They'll be delicious. Okay, not only am I going to wash my hands, this is the time when you want to go ahead and clean out your dishes, because we're going to soon start frying. So one thing that I'm going to do, because I'm just really, really curious, and want to be able to include in, not curious, but I want to be able to include in this video for you, in case you're not into frying, is how to bake them. So what I did was I just have a little tray here. I'm just going to do a few because I really wanted to do most of them fried. But I just put them in, and I put a layer of parchment, and I'm putting them in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to start it off for around 13-15 minutes. And so we'll check it and see. We want to flip them halfway through, so keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, and I have a skillet here. I'm using this one because I want something with a little deeper sides than a regular saute pan, which might be more angled. I want to try and keep the olive oil under control. I do have a splatter guard that I will use. I need to grab it. But so I'm gonna go ahead and just add, I have this, I want to heat this up to kind of a medium high temperature. So I'm gonna add just some olive oil, and we'll know when it's ready when you just take a little bit of the breading and you drop it in, and if it sizzles, then you're good to go. So this is looking good, so I'm gonna go ahead and start laying in the thicker pieces. And if you ever need to add in more olive oil, then go ahead and do that. Just do it try and do it when the ingredients are not in here, because it'll cool the temperature down. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna start flipping them. And you want to have them so they have a nice golden crust. Ooh, that one's perfect. See, look at that. That's nice. And what I'm going to do once I'm done and I'm satisfied with them is I'm going to put them on a plate that has a paper towel on them. Now, some people may like to just go ahead. I'm going to cook them up a little bit longer. Some people may prefer to put them like on a cookie rack so that they are, so that they dry crispy. I have never found putting them on here makes them soggy. What makes them soggy is letting it sit out too long or putting them away in the fridge. You're going to get this no matter what type of vegetable, whether it's eggplant, zucchini, whatever, that you're frying. So what I've done when it does get a little soft is put them in the toaster oven for a little bit. It works. It heats them up and it crisps them up. So don't stress about it. I like to put it on here because I like to just take off a little bit of the excess grease or oil, not grease, oil that I can. So this is looking really good, really restaurant quality, in my opinion. So just to show you what this looks like with the baking, it is definitely not as crispy. I mean, this is only halfway through. I'm flipping them over. But, it could be because it's on the parchment paper, and I'm sure you can air fry these as well. I'm not an air fryer type person, so I really can't give you instructions. Just, find a recipe that does air fryer, in your manual that uses, breaded whatever, and just do it, but use the mushrooms instead. So you can make these in advance. You wouldn't think that you can, but remember what I said about reheating them? You can do that. I've done that before. And make them ahead, bread them, cook them up, and then put them on the side and put them in a pan, okay, like a cookie tray, a baking pan, and then just toast them, reheat them in the oven at like 350 for, 10 minutes. Do it in your toaster oven, same thing. That will just warm them up to where you want them to be. and it'll make them a little crispy again. So you can't really go wrong with that. Tip, if you're finding that some of them are burning, sometimes that'll happen in the center where most of the heat is. Just turn the temperature down a little bit, or once those are done, take those out. You don't have to take everything out at exactly the same time. Okay, so that's off. So I'm going to go ahead, the ones that are in the oven just got done, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those and we can compare. Okay, so this is really, really interesting to see, that I'm excited to show you. And it's a little hot in my hand here. Move some things around. You can see a difference, obviously, in color between the two. Okay, I'll do a close-up of this. So you can see that these are obviously crispier. Perhaps if I had done this at a higher temperature, maybe for a little bit longer, they would look a little bit more like the others. But let's just see how they are in terms of flavor. So I'm going to go with these first because I'm really excited. Yeah, let's get one that's nice and crispy. These are nice. So they're not going to be super stiff. Like you can see this one here. It's still a little flimsy, but that's okay. And they're going to be really hot coming out of the hot oil. It tastes just as good as I remember the last time I made them. Oh, so good. Honestly, restaurant quality. Okay? Just saying. Lots of flavor. Love that crunch. So here, when you bite into these fried mushrooms, you get that crunch on the outside, but the inside, it's nice and soft. And you get that mushroom flavor. They're really good. Like, really good. Alright. Now, let's try one of these. So this was baked in the oven. Very hot. And let's see how it tastes. Hot. So really interesting. This is definitely an option if you want to avoid the frying. I actually think this might, if you're doing a large quantity, this might be the way to go. I would probably raise the temperature a little bit more, or at least spritz it with some olive oil to get it to crisp up a little bit more. But these are actually, I don't think these have as much flavor as when you fry them, okay? But you can compensate for that by adding in maybe a little bit more cheese, adding it in a little bit more herbs, or spritzing it with some olive oil, like I said, which I didn't do. I probably should have. These are less oily, so less mess. But I have to say they're pretty good. And they're crispy. But I mean, honestly, really, it's really good. It's not bad. I prefer these, but this is actually really good. And I think with some slight modifications, you can make it happen. I do like these better. But this was an option too. So now you know how to make these. I hope you do make them. Total time for this was at 400 for 15 minutes. Okay, flipping them halfway through. Doing them in the pan because it's a smaller space. It took me probably about 8 minutes per. So about 20 minutes, 25 minutes total in frying them. You do end up with a bunch. I think you're going to really, really enjoy them. I plan on making them again. I think it's a great alternative to chicken nuggets, or chicken cutlets. So you can't go wrong. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this recipe. I hope you try it. If you like these type of easy and simple and delicious recipes, please give a like. Make sure to subscribe, sign up for a newsletter, get more delivered to your email. We got lots of stuff going on. So definitely give these a try. Thanks so much for watching. Grazie e ciao.